Hey everybody, we're checking out some cards from the new set. Kaldheim is coming, and we're taking a look at what it's offering. It's the Norse mythology set. So we have Aegar, the Freezing Flame, for one blue and red, for a 3/3 legendary creature giant wizard. So we've got a nice package already, a 3/3 for 3. I'm sure it does a lot of cool stuff. Let's see. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or a spell you controlled is dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. Interesting. So whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. So it doesn't even need to be... The giant wizard or spell you control doesn't need to be the thing that even does the extra damage. It just has to have happened at some point. So basically, what do we think about this from a limited standpoint? Obviously, I'm playing this 100% of the time in any red-blue deck. It's just fine as a 3/3 for 3, even if a little tough to cast. But really, I would want to build around this to the best of my ability. I mean, build around, because the thing is, you're going to build around it by taking things like removal and pump spells. Just keep in mind that that this is going to work really well with combat tricks and burn spells. It's interesting to me that it's blue. What's blue about this? The card draw, I guess. But I kind of feel like, you know, if you were exploring new places for the color pie to go, like if you were trying to figure out how to broaden what, red is up to, I think, one of the original design mistakes of Magic was putting too much of the most powerful mechanics in blue, including drawing a card. It's just wrong that that in the early days, blue had such card draw and nobody else had it. And other colors have been taking on card draw, but it's usually contextual. So like usually for black to draw cards, you need to give up some life. In order for green to draw cards, it needs to be based on creatures. In order for white to draw cards, it needs to be a better color. In order for blue to draw cards, it just has to be blue. And meanwhile, so red, if you were like, how do we give red card draw? Like, in order for green to have card draw, you have to have a creature. In order for black to have card draw, you need to pay some life. So what do we do for red to give it card draw? And this is like exploring that space in some way, but I think you could have done it without the blue because of that. I think it's totally fair to say, look, in order for red to get card draw, it needs to do this bend over backwards, thing. So I would argue that you could get away with this without the blue, and if R&D doesn't agree, like they have color pie captains. If you were working in Magic R&D, you might be assigned a color, and you are the guardian of that color's color pie, right? So basically, you have one person in R&D at all times thinking heavily about one color's pie and how to handle it, what to do about it, what's acceptable, what's not, And so I'm just calling that out, that I think that that if that person, if the red pie owner wanted to push towards card draw in red, you could figure it out without even the blue. That being said, I mean, this isn't going to be, I don't know how easy this is going to be to do. It's somewhat fancy play syndrome card design, but it does give a hoop. Magic is ultimately all about putting solvable puzzles right on the card. And so this does a solvable puzzle, right? Solvable puzzle, like I'm gonna take this card and I'm going to get extra burn spells and then I think I think you build around this and it's good. I mean, let's say you have a shock. Let's say shock is in the set, and you play Aegar, the Freezing Flame, and then your opponent plays a 2/1 that you want dead anyway, and you shock the 2/1, and you just draw a card. I think that's great. So you don't even really need to build around it much. to draw cards. I mean, basically just take, that's what I mean. I started to say build around, but then I'm like, build around, you're just gonna, like, it builds around with removal and combat tricks, which you want in limited anyway. So, and they can't chump it. I'm coming around, I'm coming up on it. I mean, I thought it was reasonable, but now it does feel like it's not going to be too difficult to get some cards naturally. Also note, something else I would note about it is that if a giant you control did the damage, I'm assuming there's giants around that are bigger than 3/3, right? So what if you cast this on 3, but then you cast some pushed 5/4 trampling giant for 4 or something like that, and then you untap and attack, and now suddenly they can't chump your other big giant without giving you a card. So yeah, and it's only an uncommon, you know. So I think it's a nice build around uncommon, but you don't and the reason it's a nice build around uncommon is I think it through, you really don't have to build around it that much. You're just going to take removal spells and be happy when they do a little extra, and you're going to take giants and be happy when they chump them, right? How would this work with trample? That counts because that's excess. Trample is excess damage. Yeah, if your giant has trample, it should do it. Oh, really? You have to over-assign? That's weird. I say that because, like, that was my gut instinct. I mean, I guess... Because isn't technically excess damage... I would think that if you successfully trample, that counts as excess damage. Interesting. So does it just not work with trample? And if it doesn't work with trample, that would be why it's not green. Can you do that? If I'm trampling, can I willingly assign extra damage to a blocker? Okay, so you can assign that extra. Well, then I don't like it. I don't like that loophole. I don't like its interaction with trample because it's going to hose new players. Like it hosed me. I'm sitting here trying to work it out. We're sitting here talking it out. So now we've all solved it. We've figured it out. But people trying to tackle this game alone and without tons of experience are going to not see that. And I think that's too bad. I mean, Fenor, it's not straightforward for a new player to override Arena's auto trample assignments to draw a card. I don't think that's Fenor, I think you're overstating the simplicity of the trample interaction for a new player. Even if you could figure it out, I don't think that players aren't even going to necessarily know how to do it in the UI. So, yeah, I think that a lot of players are, by default, not going to maximize value in this card on Arena. That would be my design concern with it. But I think it's a pretty cool design space in the sense of, yeah, you got to watch out where things go from cool design to shark jumping design. And I think this is cool design. It's working with a space that we haven't really seen on a Magic card. And that's hard to do 27 years later or whatever. So I like it. Anyway, we're going to call that one complete. Let's see what else we've got. What's next? Next is Funeral Longboat. Funeral Longboat is a vehicle for 2 mana. We were talking about how you kind of need, like I was saying, longboats are basically the first thing I think of when I think of Vikings, and so I think you have to have longboats in the game if you're going to do a Viking set, and that means vehicles. So let's see how it works. We got a 2 mana 3/3 and has Vigilance and Crew 1. Super simple. I'm not sure the flavor here. I mean, I get the Crew 1. Crew 1 makes sense on the old... Oh, this should be Crew 0. The dude's dead. Vigilance. I don't understand Vigilance here. Maybe the flavors that we're saluting on the shore vigilantly or something. I don't know. My problem with a 3/3 for 2 mana vehicle is that how much do we like a 3/3 for 2 mana, right? Let's say I said, here you have a green and a 1 for a 2 mana 3/3. That'd be good, right? That we'd be surprised. We'd be like, oh wow, that's quite a package there. That's like almost rare level, power level, right? Well, this is a 2 mana 3/3 that you have to work hard to get. You need another creature. You need to tap that other creature. Yeah, you get Vigilance out of it. I don't think this is a very good card, though. I don't expect to play it a bunch. But yeah, Vigil, honoring the dead, maybe. Yeah, Vigilance. That's fair. Yeah, I like it. Okay, I'm sold on the flavor now. Vigil as Vigilance. It kind of was what I was saying, saluting from the shore or whatever. But I'm not going to play this unless I have... if there's a go wide thing, or I'm producing a lot of 1/1 ground tokens or something, then okay. But like, if I'm not converting incidental 1/1 tokens into a 3/3 for 2, or if I'm not doing something that cares about vehicles or artifacts or something, I don't see playing this card, taking or playing this card very highly. Like we saw that skiff from the Return of Aether Revolt and the Kaladesh block, the Kaladesh Remastered, and the skiff was working as a 2 mana 2/3 flying vehicle, but that flew. I mean, it had flying, and that really matters. So yeah, and actually the Vigilance doesn't matter unless you have 2 things to crew. That's a great point, right? Because you tap 1 to send it, and then you need to tap another to Vigilance it. Anyway, a lot of reasons to think this card is pretty medium, but it does represent what we expected to see, which is the Longboat. And I will bless the flavor with the Vigil aspect. I think that's interesting. In Search of Greatness is the next card, but I got to look for it. In Search of Greatness. Here we go. All right, In Search of Greatness. Green for an enchantment. Only 2 mana, but both green. So if this has limited application, just keep in mind that green hardly guarantees a turn 2 play in your average 2-color deck. We have, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control, without paying its mana cost, if you don't scry 1. So let's start with that. Fail case, scry 1. It doesn't take... Let's say the other rules didn't exist, and this just said 2 mana enchantment, at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. How many scries before you think you're generally happy with that card? I mean, you need to scry like 3-4 times. You're not like 2. I don't know. 2's not enough. I think I'm on like 3 before I'm happy with a card that just scries. 3 individual scry ones. Yeah, but opt draws. I mean, you can't compare Opt. Are you suggesting that this is Opt-like? This does not draw a card. Opt draws a card. Full, you know, come on. Oh, that is your point. Okay. Opt is way better. Thank you. Okay, we're in agreement then. Just making sure we weren't suggesting that this is Opt-like. Anyway, so in Search of Greatness, let's talk about, but that's not what it does. It doesn't just scry one. That's its kind of its floor, right? So I just wanted to explore the floor. The floor is not something I would play. I don't think I would play at the beginning of your upkeep scry one for green. As much as I liked Scryfish, that thing actually blocked. At the beginning, and so then it's about casting permanents from your hand. 1+ the highest among other permanents. So you can cast a 3. I think if you're drawing a ton of cards, this is interesting. This kind of ends up being like it's almost like a vial, right? But you really are not getting anywhere unless you draw cards, because this is just tempo and scry. Oh, it's other permanents too, so you don't even get to do that the first time. So I read the other. Yeah, this feels not great to me, mainly because the act of playing stuff for free is mana value, but not card value. And I'm really looking to abuse card value type cards in Limited. I want to draw extra cards. And I don't think this is going to do that. I'm not going to play this very highly, but if we get into best of 3 and this ends up in our board, I think there's absolutely a chance it comes in against slow matchups where that ongoing scry is going to be very real. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Scries do add up to card value, which is why I was starting with assessing the scry aspect. But for scry only, we're saying that I need like 3 scries before I feel like I'm happy I found and ran this card. And that means if you get it on like turn 2, you're still several scries away from it mattering. And if you draw it late, it's not gonna make up for itself for many, many turns after you draw it. So I'm really only looking to run this in a game that I expect to have many, many extra turns. So if you're playing aggro red against me, I'm not bringing in Search of Greatness. But if you're in some sort of control shell limited deck looking to go long, then you could do a lot worse than this. I don't even call it a build around. I think it's a sideboard. I think it's a sideboard because it's going to be good in the right matchups. But no matter how you have built around it, it's going to be bad in other matchups. That's why I consider it a sideboard card. So there's my take on that one. I'm going to call that complete. Next up, a saga. Everybody loves the sagas. Firja's Retribution. 1 white, black. Chapter 1. So when you play it, you create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. I mean, I'm already in. Unless there's a drawback, if I'm black and white, I'm happy to be making 4/4, making Sarah Angels on 4, right? All right. Let's not even read the rest. Just play it. It's great. All right, I guess we can keep reading. Chapter 2. Until end of turn, angels you control gain tap, destroy target creature with power less than this creature's power. Okay, I've made an angel for 4 mana, and then it untapped and killed something. Got it. And then as just a little bit of a bonus, on Chapter 3, you get to attack for 8 instead of 4. Oh my god, it's vigilant. You even get the damage. Oh my god, that's crazy. You don't even have to give up the 4 damage. You just get the 4 damage and kill something? Well, This is going to be something that I would first pick and build around, frankly. This is insanely powerful. Yeah, this is interesting that this is a rare and not a mythic. If you put a mythic symbol on this, I'd buy it. Yeah, this is crazy. You get to make an angel for 4 mana, you get to attack with it and kill something, and then you get to attack for 8. And assuming, you know, you cast this on 4 in limited, you know they don't have anything in the air that's going to block it. So if you're on the play and you drop this down, it's effectively 12 damage and a dead creature for 4. Yeah, attack for 12 and kill something and still have a 4/4 back for 4 mana seems like a powerful mana card, powerful magic card. It is a bit tough to cast, the double white especially. If it was just 2 white black, I would think it'd be pretty easy. But this does mean that if you end up first picking this, try to lean towards early white and make your black a little less oppressive. Like, I don't know if there's like double black 2-drops or whatever, but that's the kind of thing you don't want alongside this. You might still play it if it were that good or whatever, but keep in mind the white that if you are running this, you ideally are kind of 10-7 white black. So keep that in mind. Sweet bomb though. Oh my goodness, that card is gonna end some Magic games. Oh wait, I did the wrong one. Let's see. Now I got to go back to my panel. Let's see. Darn it, I hate when I do that. I dismissed the wrong... Does anybody who had the last one know what it was? Or it really was the second to last one. Yeah, very splashable in any white deck. That's a good point. It's possible. Maybe 2 people suggested the same one. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Timber. Appreciate that. All right, now we're back. Final card of the day. We got ourselves another vehicle. This one is a rare. Let's see what this rare... The common one was garbage. Let's see what the rare one looks like. We got it's same mana, 3/3 for 2. This time blue. It's got a backside we'll check in a minute. In fact, it's got a front side. We're looking at the backside first, it appears. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled. So, Amon Keel, the kind of an explorer theme, right? You're exploring in your Viking boat and finding new lands, right? But let's see what's on the other side. Cosima, God of the Voyage, 2 and a blue for a 2/4 legendary god. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile her. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima, I said Cosmina or something like that. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a Voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it and draw X cards where X is the number of Voyage counters on it. Okay, so you basically play this for 3 and either have a 2/4 around if that's what you want, or at the beginning of your upkeep you exile her and then do some landfall, and when you've landfalled a bunch you bring it. You bring her back and get a lot of value out of it. Seems very powerful. This is the side that I'm interested in. This seems pretty whatever, unless you're doing the thing. If you're doing like vehicle.deck, So this is powerful. I'm going to first pick it. I'm going to take Kasima and try to make it work. But really getting this back, it just puts me back to talking about these new kind of double-faced cards and exploring why they're bothering me so much. I was not bothered by plains on one side, swamp on the other. You know, the dual lands that are lands on each side, I'm fine with. The splans I liked. They reminded me of basically of Duel Masters, of Kaijudo, of giving Magic some of that flexibility of we're gonna solve. Because I guess, you know, the land on one side, spell on the other, just brilliantly solves an ongoing Magic problem, which is the mana system. So I guess that's why I liked the splans so much. The splans solved one of Magic's biggest issues. The mana system, the frustration of getting mana flooded or mana screwed at the wrong time. And so introducing splans and giving you that choice of land or spell solves that problem so marvelously, and it lets you put only 14 basic lands in your limited deck and still have a land drop every single turn. It's incredibly powerful for solving that problem. And I think that's kind of where it comes down to for me, that I really saw spell lands as solving one of Magic's fundamental frustration problems. That it's such a net positive to turning non-games into games, and such a net positive in mitigating the most frustrating aspect of playing Magic, which is the mana system, that I was really, I was hurrah. I loved the splans. But there is something about this situation that I find lazy and unappealing and ham-fisted and wordy and not solving enough problems to be worth doing this way. Here's the thing that this does let you do. Here's some things I like about what's going on here. I like that they have found a way to take split cards and make permanents out of them, because we were talking before I started drafting earlier today about how someone was saying, aren't these really just the same thing as the split cards back from Invasion? You know, how are these not just split cards put on two sides? Well, split cards all had to be instants and sorceries, because there was no way to put a split card on the battlefield and have people understand what permanent it would represent, right? So this is nice because you can do a split card that's a permanent, because it's pretty clear which side you chose, right? So I do like that it solves the problem of bringing split cards to permanents, but there's something really off-putting to me about just literally two Magic cards. Let's put some glue on the back of this card. Let's put some glue on the back of this card and slap them together. I don't love that. The other thing that this solves, somebody just mentioned, and I do like this. Here's another thing I really like about these. I like that it one of the problems it does solve, or mitigates, it doesn't solve it, but it mitigates the legendary problem. On the one hand, making things legendary is flavorful, and it does allow you to make them more powerful because you can only have one. So what legendary does for the game is give it flavor and a power knob. But the drawback is that they tend to be these sweet poster children of your set, of your format, of your game, you know, these legends. And then you're staring at one in your hand that you can't cast, right? You're like, well, I can't play this Teferi because I've already got a Teferi in my hand, or I've already got a Teferi out, and if I play this Teferi, it doesn't matter. And maybe that's a bad example because Planeswalkers have different loyalties, and often you're like, ooh, I'm gonna replace this almost empty Teferi with a new Teferi. But a better example would be like, let's say Kasima didn't have a flip side. If this was the only thing this card did, and you're in Constructed, you're like, well, great, I want to build around Kasima, but I don't know if I can include 4 because I really don't want to have 4. I don't want to have extra copies stuck in my hand, right? But this allows you to at least say, okay, well, I did draw 2 copies of my Cassima, but it's okay. I can play the Cassima as one, and I'll play the other one as Omen Keel, and then I at least didn't get cards stranded in my hand due to the legendary rule. So I see what they're doing. I see what problems it does solve, and there is a flavor potential. I think I would have liked it better if like is this the same art? I kind of want I almost want I think a clever art direction thing to do on these cards would have been to have it be the same shot but from a different angle, right? Like, so like let's say Cassima, instead of the backside being a boat, the backside was her sword or something, right? I think it'd be neat if like the front side was Cassima looking all superhero like, and then the backside was just Cassima from behind with her sword strapped over her shoulder. Then I might be able to get behind it. That would be interesting. But yeah, you could. I'm just saying the same scene. Like, for example, like right now we have Cassima on the boat at the helm here, right? I would love it if the art on the other side had Cassima up here on the helm. Like, show the same shot, but from a different angle. I think that could be an interesting way to sell that a little more. Right, but aren't they? I thought the backsides were weapons and stuff. I thought that was their whole deal. That it's like legends and their stuff, right? You can choose the legend or you can choose the legend's stuff. Is she on top of the boat? I don't know. Is she up there and I can't see her? Maybe. Yeah, it could be. But I do believe that given that the backsides are all going to be related to the front side in some way, you could have done an art connection thing that I'm talking about, but just an idea. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of being a cranky old man about these flip cards, but I'm trying to learn to love them or learn to understand, embrace what they are doing. They aren't just completely random. They are doing the permanents get split cards, and legends aren't as useless. And I think both of those are valuable. So maybe I'll get over it and learn to love these, but there is just something really weird to me about 2 spells stapled together called a magic card. I'm going to take a look at chat here, see if anybody's got any follow-up thoughts, and then sign off, though. Hope you enjoyed some talk of the new Kaldheim cards. It is adding a lot of complexity. Pig's Fly is just feeling like, there's something really like what I liked about the rare dual lands. The rare dual lands are about as elegant as it gets, right? It's like a plains on one side, it's a swamp on the other. They're just not technically basic lands. That's elegant design. That is, I get it. That is a really neat way to solve a problem. It's basically like a way to give, again, it's like an Evolving Wilds at rare. And again, I love it when they can come up with an Evolving Wilds for rare, and one that doesn't involve shuffling, right? It's a way to have an Evolving Wilds style effect without actually shuffling, which is good too. So I don't know, there's just other stuff going on in the other versions of these that I like better than the spell, but it is what it is. And the other thing about Magic is if you don't like it, it will go away from the main event soon enough. Interesting. Vargan says, I hear the modal dual-faced cards idea started with Strixhaven and was ported backwards, so the next set should show us what the main original idea was. Although maybe they came up with the idea there and then push the main original stuff back. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to read about it sometime. But yeah, elegance. This is not elegant. This is a ton of words. Ton of words. I think the other thing that makes me a cranky old man about Magic these days a little bit is the way in which it seems like R&D has abandoned the idea of printing mechanics that you can play by reading the card. I mean, yeah, technically, maybe if I read the rules to mutate, I can kind of figure it out. But did anybody here read the reminder text from mutate and go, got it, I got it. Mutate, I understand it. Did anybody raise your hand if mutate made perfect sense to you the first time you ever saw it? I mean, and then like these are kind of like that. Like the trouble with the trouble with all of these is that you have to go look to even understand what side the front is, right? Like to even know what side you should put face up in the graveyard or whatever, like you got to go look in the internet to understand that. And I get that early Magic had that problem too, but then I thought they figured it out. It seemed like after early Magic failed to be able to tell people what goes on, what's going on a card, they started to really do that and make sure that new mechanics were explainable on cards. But I just feel more and more, or like Adventure. All right, so who saw an Adventure card previewed from Eldraine? Raise your hand if the first time you saw an Adventure card, you read it and go like, I know exactly how this works. There's a little spell in the corner. Clearly, if I cast the little spell in the corner first, you know, like, I don't know, like you can kind of figure it out. I'm not saying it's not, there's nothing there. But I needed to go look it up. I just feel like they're like, I'm never sure. I'm like, I always got to go and understand exactly what the heck is going on here. And maybe I'm just, again, being cranky old man, and maybe that you need to push the boundaries of your game. And maybe we are just in a space with games in general where, hey, we're gamers. If we're signing up to play a new game, we're signing up to reading the instructions, right? If I bust out a new tabletop game with you, I'm willing to read instructions with you, right? So maybe Magic is just saying, hey, look, it's our new Magic set. Yes, you have some instructions to read, but it's a new game. Everybody reads the instructions for their new games. No big deal. Just do it, and you'll learn it and have some fun. And certainly that has been true. Like, to be fair, I loved Adventure. I thought that was a great mechanic. To be fair, I love Morph. I think that is a great mechanic. Talk about a mechanic where you need to go and make sure you understand the edge cases, right? I do like Morph, right? So there's plenty of mechanics that they introduce where it takes a lot of checking to make sure you understand what's going on. And I don't know what level of balance is there. Is correct there. You certainly need to press the envelope of design and make exciting Magic cards. I just worry that the complexity creep and the inability to cleanly understand what a mechanic does from the reminder text is a drawback that Wizards needs to really keep in focus and make sure they're not spending too much of that capital, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Evolve. There's many mechanics that require a little extra, I suppose. It just feels like there's been a lot more of them these days. But I'm a cranky Magic boomer, so you never know whether it's just me. Thank you so much, though, for hanging out. I'm going to say farewell to our YouTube friends for this particular video. Hope you enjoyed that. And I hope this set plays well. I mean, I guess that's not a surprising thing. We all want our new Magic sets to play well. So, thank you so much, YouTube friends. Give us a like, and we'll catch you later.